Hello, everybody, and welcome to day four. Day four of Rapid Fire Reviews. Today is a very special day for a few reasons, because one, we're taking a look at Meg McKeen, founder of Adjunct Advisors. We're taking a look at her website, and the whole goal of this week is to give you all a clearer sense of how to apply marketing theory into reality for your own business. And so many of us learn more by doing and by seeing, and so why not go through actual examples out in the wild with the folks that are in our Sprk'd collective. So if you're not familiar with what the Sprk'd collective is, that is our Facebook group of women business owners who are looking to grow and scale their businesses. So if you have not joined that, head on over to the Facebook and type in Sprk'd Collective and you will find it. The other thing that makes today extra special is that we have Meg McKeen here with us while we're going through the review. So I am going to bring Meg to the screen. Hi, Meg. Can you tell the good people a little bit about you? Good. Yay, I'm so glad you're here. Hooray.
Thank you. Well, I mean, first things first, Christine, I cannot sing your praises loudly enough. You are an absolute magician at what you do. And so when you said, would anyone like to have a website review? I was like, I hope I make the cut, because I absolutely would love this. And I want and crave your feedback, because I think, as so many of us do, as we start our businesses, we want to do our best and we want to put our best impression forward. And so anything that you have to share, I'm like a sponge. Bring it on. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
I am two years into my thank you. 2 years into my consulting practice, and I am 21 years into my career in insurance. And so I finally have found my sweet spot in insurance sales coaching for individuals who are working on being the person that their future clients will choose to work with. So I do work that really lives at the intersection of personal and professional development, because we need both in the insurance industry. We have a lot of reputation to work on, and a lot of our own personal journeys to share with our clients as we build connections. So that's the work that I do: one-on-one workshop facilitations, corporate speaking events, that sort of thing. So I am humbled and thrilled and proud to do what I do right now. So, and I love this experience with you already, and we haven't gotten started. So thanks again.
You're making me blush. Thank you so much. You're too kind. But so let's dive in. That's a wonderful setup. Thank you so much. And then can you restate who your specific audience is?
So I work with individuals who sell insurance products as a category, and we do sales coaching work together.
Great.
For a very probably obvious reason, most of my clients identify as female, merely because I bring a very feminine voice to what has historically been a very male-dominated industry, particularly from a sales standpoint. So my overall messaging leans feminine, but I do serve both men and women, which has been an interesting process to convey that. And I'll be curious what sort of feedback you have about that as you look at my website.
Great. I will keep that in mind. I had not looked at it with that in mind, but I'll try to look through it with that lens today. So great. And that is exactly why I asked the question. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's see. There we go. Let's have both of us on the screen at the same time. All right. So first of all, I like that your cookie, I left this up. I didn't click it on purpose, just so that people could see it exactly as it comes. I like that. It's just very simple. Sometimes they're just really huge and take over the screen, and that's no fun for anyone. I also love that you have this call out for lack of a better term, that's talking about your podcast. Season 2 is going live. Very excited about that. I have so many podcast questions for you because I want to have one of my own. I just haven't really explored much of it. So we will have a separate conversation about that, hopefully. Or we could bring you back on to talk about how the process has gone for you.
Perfect.
We'll worry about that later. But so far, I love that. If you and anyone else has seen anything from the previous days this week, you've heard me talk a lot about this like billboard area of the website and how you only have 3 seconds to convey 3 different things: who you are serving, what it is they're going to get out of working with you, and how do they either learn more or sign up in some sort of way. And so looking at your site like this is really low. And I can't actually see the whole thing. Again, that's just maybe my screen. But I'm looking at this on a 13-inch laptop, which is kind of standard. So something to keep in mind, to maybe get that up a little bit higher so that people can not have to scroll down. And then you also have this lovely information that really reinforces what it is that you do, and really helps to sell through the dream, right? Of, well, what would life be like if you could do X, Y, Z versus having to, worry about the struggle that you're dealing with every day, right? If there's a way you can get that up here, so if you move this up and you move this up here as well, I think that would really be helpful, because then you won't be making people have to scroll down right away. Does that make sense?
Totally. I can do it. It'll be done this afternoon.
Oh, great. Right on.
That's great feedback. No, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, and you know what? Feel free to like jump in and like interrupt me. Like, that is not rude at all. So just like jump in anytime you have a question. So also the navigation is something that I had feedback on. But before I actually get into that, this is a wonderful site. I know I told you that ahead of time before we went live, but you have a really solid foundation. So this is all advice and recommendations to take it from good to great. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind. Like, I'm not just like tearing down these websites because they're horrible. No, they're fine. This is about making them work even better and convert and perform. So navigation, as a general rule of thumb, you should never have more than 6 options in a navigation. And like all rules of thumb, they are just guidelines. There are exceptions to every rule and guideline. However, the fewer choices you give people, the easier it is to make a decision. I think earlier in the week I used, I don't think I used it during any of these lives. I think I used this with an actual one-on-one client. If you think of the toothpaste aisle, everything is super shiny. Everything has holograms. And there are at least hundreds of options, or at least dozens. And, it can be hard to decide, like, well, which one do you want? And so you usually just go with the default, right? So navigation is a little like that, where if you're giving people too many options, they're just going to either bounce and like leave, or not choose something, just scroll down. So what does that actually mean in practice? These days you don't really need a home button. Most people know, like 99% of the world knows, that if you click the logo, it will take you to the home page. And if your website doesn't do that, please fix that ASAP, because that's the expectation, that the logo takes people back to the home page. About is always great to have, because people want to learn more about you. Offerings, that's what you sell, so please keep that. This can also be services in some cases. The verbiage itself is totally personal choice. Offerings make sense. I love that you have this broken down by persona, by who that person is, and it makes it much easier to self-identify. I'm an individual versus a group or, company. For events and conferences, I absolutely love that. That makes me already think about like hiring you for speaking events and workshops, etc. Events also great. Blog I will come back to because I have a whole series of thoughts on that.
Okay. Awesome.
Same thing with podcast and media and newsletter. So media in that sense, I was thinking what I was expecting to see when I clicked on this, I was actually expecting to see media from you, not media placements you've been in.
Okay.
I was kind of thinking of it. I was kind of expecting it to be like a repeat of seeing like where your podcast was, also maybe your blog and some other things, not necessarily mentions like where you've been featured. I think this is amazing to have. This is all social proof and, showing your expertise and all of that. This is all wonderful to have. And so I wouldn't get rid of this per se, but something like this is probably best suited for your about page so that when people click over here, they can read about you and then see, your accolades, so to speak. And that also gives people one less thing to really, focus on when they're trying to decide where to go. So that simplifies two things: getting rid of the home and then merging media with about. Another way that you could simplify this even further, like if you can get to like 3 or 4 things in your navigation, and I'm not counting contact here because this is set in a different style. So this is I feel like anytime you do this is very clear that this is something that's like not necessarily navigation, but it's some sort of action you want people to take. It is in the navigation technically, but it's acting differently. So I'm not even counting that really. But like the newsletter, podcast, and blog, I feel like those can all go into like a resources section. So similar to how you have, so similar to how you have offerings as a dropdown, you could have resources. Again, the verbiage is totally your choice. Like that's not always the greatest word. That's what we use on my site because I got tired of trying to think of, synonyms for it. It was like, that's fine for now. And you can play with it. The great thing about websites is that you can always make changes. So that's one thing that I would do to just kind of consolidate things just a little bit more. Did you have any questions or thoughts on that?
No, but I love that you addressed that because I'll be honest, I've struggled with it. I know brevity and conciseness is important, but I wasn't sure how to create that without losing, selfishly, this is a sales page for me. I want people to know that I host a podcast. I want them to know that I have a newsletter. These are all ways from a business development standpoint that I want them to engage with me. And so also understanding human nature that we aren't likely to click on 1,000 links. What you've just described has really helped me kind of fine tune what the major categories could be and then how to give those individual pages a home, if that makes sense. So that's super feedback. And I totally agree with you. And I've definitely been noodling on that over and over again, how to make all that work. I don't think, generally speaking, that people are Googling insurance sales training and coming up with me. I think what's happening, as I can see my own sales funnel and the progress that people make through it, they're largely coming from my own network. So I'm highly networked in the insurance industry, having been in it for so long. And so there's a curiosity. So they're going directly to adjunctadvisors.com or they're coming in through LinkedIn. And so this is more about validating what they already know about me to be true rather than hoping that someone is sitting in their office in Omaha, Nebraska, wanting an insurance sales coach and they find me first. I'm just thinking about the way my business flow works, Would I love them to find me that way? Sure. But this is more the validation of what they already know to be true. So, so what you've just shared already is super helpful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're super welcome. And I love, so shout out to you about, because of the way you're thinking about it. You're thinking about the buyer's journey. Where are they coming from? Do you, like you're already not worried about doing all of the things, right? Like SEO, for example, search engine optimization. You mentioned you're not really worried about people like Googling and having you come up first, which yes, always a plus if you can have that happen. But every market pretty much now is super saturated, and the odds of you getting to that #1 spot or even on the first page is increasingly getting harder, getting exponentially harder. And so you have cut through all that noise and decided that, listen, I'm already a really well-networked person in my industry. I'm leveraging LinkedIn, and so that's your focus on like the main core network that you're using. You also have a wonderful Instagram channel, by the way, if anybody wants to follow.
I'm working on it, my friend. I'm working on it.
Like, I'm not in the industry. I'm not in the industry, I'm not in the insurance industry, and I really enjoy your Instagram feed. So,
well, and I appreciate that feedback, because everything that I do in my business and everything that I'm encouraging those that I work with is to humanize the insurance journey. So Instagram is a great place to show up as a human being, but I'll be honest, I have a lot of years of corporate in me still, and my mindset is still everything needs to be buttoned up, everything needs to be perfect. My hair has to be done before I do an Instagram story. And I think people are craving that real connection. So every day I'm forcing myself a little bit further outside of my comfort zone, and Instagram's been a fun place to explore that. So thank you for validating that I'm not doing it wrong. If there is such a thing.
You are doing it great. Yeah, there are ways to do things wrong, but I wanted to be very optimistic and be like, well, I don't know if there's ways to do things wrong. You're doing it great.
So right on. I appreciate that.
Sure. Okay. Back to the website.
Yeah.
So, so to recap, so about offerings, events, if you're doing a lot of, no, sorry, I don't think I actually clicked on this earlier. Oh yeah, these are online events. Great. Ones that have passed, and then upcoming ones, I'm assuming. Yeah, so these are ones that passed. Great. Awesome. I would leave that in there. I would leave that up ahead. Leave that up in the navigation because I think that's a differentiator. Not everybody's doing online events in this way. So my thoughts on blogs. So I would take this out of the navigation unless you're going to put it in like a resources section like we just discussed. You want people, like the purpose of a blog is to share your thoughts, ideas, knowledge, right? And for people to kind of get a taste of what it's like to work with you, what knowledge you have, how to get a taste of what it's like to work with you, basically. And people are going to find that usually through search, through search engine optimization. Then they come to the post, then they hopefully go off to your services, right? Or in your case, offerings, or they bounce, which is also very common. A lot of times people will read one post and move on. That's blog post optimization that we can talk about another time. But if someone is here on your site, and like you were just saying, that they're really more so looking for that validation, you want to show them that. So the about page is important. And then you really want to get them into the offerings section. And the blog can be a distraction because someone's going to be very much more likely to bounce out of your site from a blog post than they are from any other part of your site. So it sounds very clear that you have Google Analytics on your website. So it'd be interesting to see the bounce rate for your blog posts compared to the rest of your site. And I would be surprised if the bounce rate on blog posts was lower than something like 80%, because that's kind of an average on blog posts. So if you do see that, do not get disheartened. It's kind of
and to be honest, I pay no attention to it. I'll disclose fully, my blog posts are regurgitated LinkedIn posts because it's decent content, but I haven't set up tags and categories, and I'm not doing anything. It's not adding any value to my site except existing, if that makes sense.
It existing is a benefit because that is getting indexed by Google. That's not necessarily a bad thing at all. It's also, you said regurgitating, and that has kind of a negative connotation, but like you should totally be repurposing your content. And I think that
I'm finally like getting into that mindset of this soundbite can go on Instagram. This can be a blog post. I can, I've started recording the audio to my newsletter, which now lives on the website, which is kind of a fun way to engage with people who prefer to listen versus read. So I'm trying some new things, my friend. I'm trying some new things.
Yes, all of that, all the snaps. I love it. So I have been advocating lately that you put your blog in the footer. Again, if you're not having like a resources section, like if you really just have a blog and you don't have a podcast and you don't have, usually don't put newsletter in the navigation. You can. I'm a big fan of like try it, test it, see if it gets more clicks in the navigation. I'm personally in more of a mindset that like no one's even signing up for newsletters anymore these days. But that's maybe me just being, a curmudgeon, but and sick of my inbox.
I think mine is the best newsletter out there. So of course I want people to sign up for it. No, I will say it's been a journey. That's a whole other category that we could talk about. The conversion from a newsletter is tough. I'm still in that building an audience phase, but what I found through LinkedIn and then also writing my newsletter is I really like writing. For me, it's a great way to tell my story and the story of the people that work with me. And so just the act of doing it, I really enjoy. So it's definitely, it's a lot of trial and error, as so many things are, for sure.
That's excellent. I love that. And I also love that you are telling people how often they can expect to hear from you. I think that's a wonderful expectation to set. It can be, I am speaking from personal experience here, it can be scary to actually put that down in writing because then you have to stick to that commitment. And I have avoided that. But it is very good. And I did have weekly at one point and was not able to live up to that expectation. And so I just took it off for now. But I would love to do at least twice monthly. This week I've been doing them every single day, and that has been a wonderful actual experience. I'm kind of surprised by that just because every day is quite a lot. But it's been in promotion of these reviews, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So I'm glad to hear that you are loving the writing process as well. Real quick, check in the comments. Luann Edwards, hey, thanks for watching. She said, so true, Med. Yeah, she said authenticity wins over perfection on social media, especially these days. So right on, getting some social love. And Liz just gave you a follow over Insta as well. So, and also agrees that the perfect feed is going out of style and people want to see real life. It's so true. Yeah. So true. Nobody cares about, the perfectly planned Insta puzzle or profile. So,
hard habits to break, Christine. Hard habits to break.
It's true. This is true. Yeah, it's okay to show a little grit. I mean, that bookshelf could probably be over here. Could probably be organized better, but meh, whatever. Okay, I didn't have any other real feedback on here. You're talking about how you respect their privacy. I think that's brilliant. Everybody wants to make sure that they're not going to sign up for this and get spammed.
Can I ask you for a bit of on-the-spot feedback? So I mentioned that I have the audio recorded of each of my newsletters, and the way that you get to that is clicking on the typewriter where it says "click to listen." Does
totally
that?
Didn't get that.
Right, and I'm afraid people don't because just don't, right? But if you clicked on it, it would pull up the audio in a separate window where I would be narrating the last issue of the newsletter.
Yeah, it just did that. And I love that you do that. And I'm glad you asked, because I did not even, like, there is a hover state on this, and I still didn't even get that. I was going to give you a compliment on that. I just love old typewriters. But I would say, I'm trying to figure out like where to put that, because this is the main thing you want them to do on the right, is to fill out this form. Maybe once they hit sign up, maybe then, what's the best way to do that? This is a really good question. What I was going to say, let me finish that thought, was sign up, and then would you like to listen to the audio version? You could do that. Because you're still capturing their email address first, and that's really part of the point. If they really want to listen to it, I guess you don't have to gate it behind an email address. I would say maybe just make it, just to keep it simple, maybe just make it a little bit more clear of, like, you can also listen to the audio version of the newsletter. Click here to listen. In text, and leave this image alone.
Okay.
Does that make
I'll play
sense?
around with it. Totally. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you said that, because I love the idea that, Liz has a suggestion. Turn the typewriter into an icon without the background in it, so it looks more like a button. Yep, that could work.
Ooh, great idea. Thank you.
It is a great idea. Yeah. Thanks, Liz.
And I actually know how to do that. So
great.
So that's cool. Yeah. I love when I can solve these problems or take these steps myself. That's great.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you said that. So if you can't do this on your own, not just you, but if anyone can't do this on their own, there's a link at the bottom to sign up for a marketing therapy session where we do this on a private one-to-one, not over live, although we could if you really wanted to. So if you need help, we're available for that. So I'm just going to leave that go for a little bit. But I love that you have that idea of reading the newsletter. I think that's brilliant. And then those were the main things that I had feedback on. I think, like I said, the foundation of the site, the design is very clear, very strong. Not a whole lot of feedback from that kind of a standpoint. You did ask about the tone, which we have not talked about. Is there anything else you want me to comment on before we wrap up?
No, this has been really helpful. I mentioned to you outside of this conversation that this is something that I've been working at for a while, to get the branding and the messaging and the flow and everything to kind of come together. And after, frankly, 2 years of working with it, I finally feel like I can send people to my website and it conveys in the voice that I want them to hear and the message I want them to hear, without a lot of explanation. I was doing a lot of, well, I need to update this, and I'm doing a branding thing. And I'll just say candidly, I think it's important. This is a journey. When the site launched 2 years ago, the color scheme was all dark wood and hunter green. And it was very, very masculine, because I had not yet embraced my niche. I was still trying to appeal to someone who ultimately wasn't for me, and I wasn't for them. But that was, again, that sort of corporate undoing that I was working through. And so I did work with someone else on the branding piece to make sure that I was able to convey what I wanted to. And it's been pretty cool to see it finally come together, and with a sense of pride, in a way that it's like, here, just go to my website, you'll figure it out. And it's pretty, pretty self-explanatory. So what you've shared today is very actionable. I agree with everything that you've said. This is wonderful. This is just going to take it to the next level. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. And thank you. And yeah, and like I said, like it's all about taking it from good to great, right? So like you've got solid foundation. We looked at Daniela's mindfulgoods.co site yesterday. Excellent example of what good looks like. Really, really solid example, like from a content perspective, personality perspective. Yours is also very clear from a branding perspective. I feel like the copy is very clear. You're also doing a very good job of conveying brand personality through images like this one. The typewriter is very classy, very elegant, very clean. And I think all of that comes across. And honestly, it doesn't come across too feminine. I think your choice in using like the bright red and a lot of the black and white stays neutral, but with your personality shining, not necessarily it like being all pinks, right? Like you're not pink washing your site, right? Which is important. It does maybe it's not definitely not the hunter green, the dark wood, not the old boys club kind of look and feel. That is definitely not the look and feel. Is very open airy. So maybe that is perhaps more feminine leading. But I don't come here and think, oh, she only works with women. I definitely don't get that sense. So I think you're doing a really great job with, again, content, photo, imagery. You're making it all work together. And yeah, just some of those small tweaks, I think will take it from here to here. And always just, if you can, at least look at your analytics once a month, even if it's just for 15 minutes, just to be like, I'm just going to check in on this one thing. That will also be a good gauge to help you as well, just to see where people are clicking. If you need like click tracking software, there's a lot of free options out there. Like Lucky Orange comes to mind. There's another one that I really love that I'm blanking on the name of, but I can put it in the comments later. But Hotjar, that's it. Glad I remembered that.
Never heard of any of these, Christine. So I have some homework to do.
It will be on our resources page soon.
That's great. And I think I would assume many listening, everything in its time, right? I feel like the analytics is next level for me, and I'm getting ready to start. I spent the last 6 months building some systems within my business to really ramp up my own business development and create automation and some simplicity for me as things continue to progress. Analytics is one of the next things that I want to make sure that what I'm doing is actually worth the time and the energy. And if it's not, then let's change something. So that's, I appreciate that you mentioned that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you've got step one checked off, which is have the analytics on the site. So as long as the data is there and being collected, you can always look at it later, but it needs to be there first. There's so many business owners, male, female, that doesn't matter, that just don't even think of having that on the site. And it's like, no, I could do so much more to help you if I had information. So otherwise, it's truly just leaning on experience and other anecdotal instances. But every organization, every company is different. And so it's super important to have that. So at least you have that. You can always look at it later. So
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. Baby steps. It's about not being overwhelmed. So anything else I can look at while we're together?
No, but I know where to find you. So have no doubt that when something comes up, you're the first on my list, and you really are the first on my list. I mean, I know you outside of this, and I just can't sing your praises loudly enough. So thank you for this very generous session, but also all the other things that you're doing to particularly support women who are carving their own paths. I think it's amazing the network that we have to support us, and you're part of it. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being part of my world, and I'm glad that I could feature you, and I'm so glad that you could make it live. This is so fun. I think this is how I'm going to do this forever. Because it's
I would.
More fun with friends, right? And tomorrow we're taking a look at Shiley, your social media Sherpa. We're taking a look at her website. And I love that everyone that we have reviewed this week. I didn't know you all knew each other. So, well, at least Shiley knows all of you, which makes sense. I feel like Shiley knows everyone.
The internet is a very small place. I'm learning as we all continue to grow in our own businesses. We need so many things, and we all do different things, and so the overlap is amazing. There's so many people yet to meet, but yeah, it was kind of fun to see so many familiar names that you had, round up for these sessions. Yeah. For sure.
I thought I was bringing, people from different corners together, and different. Well, I guess I was still, but you guys already knew each other from other ways, so great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day and birthday week. Happy belated birthday.
I know. Thank you. It's been a fun one. I appreciate your birthday wishes.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a good one, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.